Good day, everyone. Welcome to another Sacred Path Recovery podcast. I'm James Francis, and with me is my favorite professor, Miss Katie O'Connor, my metaphysical mentor, and we're here today. Glad to be back today to once again do another podcast. And today's discussion, well, before I start off on what our discussion is going to be about, I just wanted to give our listeners out there a little rundown about the things that are going on in my life, and maybe Katie wants to give a little information about what she's been doing lately, seeing as how she has more free time, I imagine, than what she was working with before. But for me, this past summer has been a really it feels like a productive and busy summer. I was taking 3 courses because I'm still working towards my bachelor's degree. The 3 courses went well. 2 of them are already done. They were 8-week courses. They were fast, but I learned a lot. I'm still in the midst of my 5-week course, and this is going to be the final week for it. But it feels good knowing that I'm just that little bit closer to the bigger picture and that bigger goal that I have for myself. And so we were just talking earlier about how, well, in the last podcast, we were talking about the shadow,
Right, right.
and that was a very good topic. And I had a lot of my friends tell me, that it was an interesting topic because, a lot of people are unaware about the shadow that we
Right.
have within ourselves. Um,
Right. Well, a lot of times the shadow is it's really a pretty simple idea because I mean, look at you. You're just taking your classes, your baby steps towards your degree, and you could let the shadow of, oh, I can't do it. I'll never be able to get this done. Oh, it's going to take too much time. Oh, I'm not smart enough. You could let all of these negative ideas creep in that could hinder your progress on your degree, but you don't. You're like, well, I know it's there. That's a shadow aspect.
mhm.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, no, that's not an option. I'm going to succeed and I'm going to keep going forward and keep going forward. And it's just baby steps to the goal. And then eventually you get there.
Yeah. And for me, when we were discussing it, one of the things that I don't know if I was able to convey it across to our audience, but by no means do I claim to have a full grasp and knowledge of the entirety of what the shadow concept is. We were just kind of slightly touching upon what it was and giving our listeners a type of I guess introduction and a
Right.
little bit of understanding about what this shadow is. And for me, from personal experience, as I look back in retrospect now, um, the shadow for me is becoming self-aware of myself. And I like the fact that when we were last talking about it, I came to realize that not only is the shadow those negative aspects of ourselves, but it can also be those positive aspects of ourselves that we may deny out of embarrassment or, a type of belief that may have been ingrained within us. Don't be a show off. Don't overdo it. You only have to do so much,
Right.
and
Right.
so. Um, but now that we've come this far, what I've also realized is that once we become self-aware of this shadow and of these various aspects that we have within ourselves through self-awareness, through deep introspection, and taking the time to learn these things about ourselves, is that one of the benefits that comes along with becoming self-aware of ourselves is that we become self-aware of our intuition.
Right.
We learn how to use our intuition, which is most people refer to as that gut feeling, that feeling of when you take on a certain task or when you strive towards a certain goal. Sometimes we are driven by this motivation, and that intuition most times will give you that clear sense of what you want without a doubt, and it'll drive you without any second guessing yourself, like, should I or should I not?
Right. Right. Well, again, that introspection, that ability to question and inquire, why do I think the way I think? Why do I feel the way I feel? Why do I take certain actions? Um, why do I take these actions? And why are they important? Or why are they screwing up my life? Or why are they good actions to take? It can go either way. But when you start opening up the inquiry and asking the questions to discover the parts of yourself that you haven't seen, you start to tune into these other facets of yourself, like your intuition, your psychic awareness, your consciousness. And in that, you start to become even greater aware, not only of yourself, but of humanity at large, the world.
Yeah, and that intuition, it's referred to here as kind of like that inner GPS system, that guidance system of, what we need or what we want in our lives. And when we become confident in our intuition, it's going to take us in a lot of good positive directions.
Right. Like a lot of people call it psychic abilities and intuition. And even Dr. Joe Dispenza recently in his book, Supernatural, he called it supernatural because he believes that it is natural to us, but it's sort of our superpowers that exist within us. And that's something that people don't understand. They think supernatural is something otherworldly or outside of our our scope of living on the earth. But the truth of the ability of the matter is that we have these abilities. They are natural to us. We have these abilities, and we can develop them. If anybody out there has been a mother at any time, sometimes the minute your child wakes up from a nap, or the second something happens to your child, you'll be like, oh, I got to check on so and so. And you talk to mothers at large, and sometimes fathers too. They'll be like, I just had a feeling I needed to go check on my
Yeah.
son or my daughter. And so a lot of these abilities come out when we're caretaking other people.
And that's crazy because, I think we do all have this intuition, and there really isn't nothing that we need to improve or strengthen it. Rather, as we get older in life, it kind of gets that's where that doubt is placed within us about what our intuition is, and that's where that second guessing
Right.
comes out.
We start thinking, our thinking brain steps in and says, oh no, that's not it. They're fine. They're at school, or they're, outside playing, or we come up with all kinds of reasons to doubt our intuition. And yet, for thousands of years, and you think back, we had to have an awareness of what was around us. If we were hunting, what happens when you go out hunting?
Yeah.
You stay very still. You figure out where the prey will be, and you have to be aware. And a lot of times in the old days, it was a matter of our safety, our protection, and we developed what we call these gut instincts.
Yeah.
We still call them gut instincts. We still get a feeling deep in our gut like something's wrong, or we need to go another direction, or sometimes we'll get a little voice that says, don't go that way. Don't take that road, or, go somewhere else. And there's always a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people will say, well, I just had a feeling instead of taking my regular route to work to go the other direction. And they did, and because of that, they might have missed a major accident on the freeway or something by paying attention to that instinct, that gut instinct.
Yeah, and definitely I can understand that intuition doesn't necessarily have to be these spur of the moment realizations about certain things, but it can be coming to face a truth for what it is. my intuition was telling me, you got to slow down, start becoming aware of what you're going through, how you're feeling. And now that intuition of being aware of needing to do that has led me to have that option or that realization that I can go to other people and ask for help. I can take the time to, sit down and maybe set that alone time for myself when I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Hmm. One of the things that happens in addiction is time speeds up. Things are, you're always in a hurry, or there's stress. You have a feeling of anxiety or stress, or having to hurry, or having to get things done, or or just sort of not thinking through things. Uh, you know, utilizing the addiction, the drugs, the alcohol takes you away from thinking or feeling. The feeling self especially gets ignored. And so a lot of times when you've been either in that state of anxiety or under the toxicity of the addiction, you're not paying attention to your intuition. You're not being aware of feelings, you're not aware of energy, um, and you ignore those gut instincts
Yeah.
that come through.
We definitely become disconnected from a lot of things that our normal brains should be aware of.
Right. And in the process of getting clean or getting sober, part of that process is slowing down, becoming aware of how we feel, what's going on minute to minute, and tuning into ourselves that we've ignored for so long. Being able to just sort of stop and slow down and take that slow path, and really tune in to your feelings and thoughts.
Yeah. And as we come back, or even if we don't lose that disconnection through addiction or substance abuse, what we do find when we have that ability to become really aware of our intuition and use it to our abilities is there's a lot of positive aspects to people that have that confidence within themselves to make certain decisions. Some of these can include career choices where someone might be having a gut feeling about a job offer, whether or not they should put in an application. Does it seem logical to make this choice? And you might have those doubts, but deep down inside, when you really look at it, a lot of times when it comes to jobs or certain decisions, you'll know
Right.
I want this, and
Right.
I gotta make this happen.
Right. You,
With relationships, the immediate knowing of a strong connection, when you're with a certain type of person for so long, you develop that type of connection where one way or another, you can actually feel when the other person is off, and it applies as well to friendships. It's that strong connection that you can share. Just you have that feeling when your friend may be feeling off, or when your partner in a relationship is kind of acting not what you're used to.
right. We have what's called empathy. And a lot of times there's people are have developed and fine tuned their ability to be empathic towards other people. They can pick up emotions, they can pick up feelings. A lot of times they might walk into a room and be able to say, wow, something just happened
Hmm.
here, or something's going on. It's almost like a warning signal, a warning mechanism, and it could have been, it could be something that's developed as a protective mechanism as a
Right.
child, especially if you were raised in a very chaotic or dangerous environment.
Yeah.
You might have developed the ability to sort of perceive that maybe this isn't the time to walk into that room, that
Yeah.
it's maybe a better time to go outside of the house or do something different.
And that's something that I can tell that I was aware of to a certain extent, but I wasn't really fully aware of it. But there were those moments looking back now where I would go into a room, or I would go into a certain area or place, and you could feel that tension in the air. You could feel that kind of it's almost like a pressing
Yeah,
feeling. It feels
yeah,
like, but now more than ever, just being aware of it, I can kind of gauge the room and gauge the situations just by, by looking around, and you get that feeling.
Right. Or, say you perceive that somebody's upset with you or angry with
Yeah.
you, and you see them coming and you go the other way
Yeah.
because you know what's coming. And these are really exceptional skills. These are kind of the skills that you can develop that can save your life. The ability to perceive energy and emotion and to feel it in other people.
Yeah.
It can be extremely beneficial.
And it's beneficial when you become aware of these things, especially if it comes towards making financial decisions. You have that ability to kind of see your options, see the path, if whether or not you're going to purchase, invest on something. You have that intuitive sense of whether or not this is really going to be um, something that's going to be worthwhile to put your money down with. Whereas before, if you had no awareness of your intuition, then you're probably just going to be impulsive in what you buy or what you spend your money on.
Right, right. Yeah, a lot of people have had intuitive hits and have, bought the lottery ticket at the right
Yeah.
time, or they've had, intuitive hits about avoiding a problem or an accident or a situation. Being able to read people with your intuition or your discernment can also help you on the path to relationships. You can, you get to know somebody and you can perceive how they are with other people, how they are on a day-to-day basis, and you might look at their behavior or their activity and say, I don't really want to be with a person like this, or maybe you do.
Yeah.
It could go either way, but getting to know someone and being able to read their energy and what their beliefs and ideas and actions are in the world can really put you on solid ground for a relationship.
And I got a piece of advice for all my family and friends and all our listeners out there. I know that we live in the area where there's a lot of casinos around. Don't rely on your intuition to walk into a casino and think that, oh, my gut is telling me that today is going to be the day I'm going to win $1 million, because you know what I found? My intuition tells me that, oh, yeah, you're going to go in there and you're going to lose your money. So, yeah. So,
Well, and you have the ability to discern emotion as you walk into a room. You have the ability to kind of, scan the horizon and see who's there, and do this. When you do this, don't just look for people, but look for the feeling. What's the general feeling? I know when I walk into a casino, the general feeling that hits me is a feeling of I'm going to party until I lose it all, or or I've got to win it back. And it's a feeling
yeah,
of sorrow and desperation and pain.
that's that feeling I feel. I feel
Yeah.
that misery and that
I just,
desperation
I
when I
don't
go in
even,
there now.
I don't even go into casinos because I just don't like the feeling of it. It's the same at going into hospitals.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
lot of sorrow and pain and death, and you can feel that
Yeah.
the minute you walk in the door.
Yep. Another good attribute of becoming aware of your intuition is having that creative insight. Artists, writers, musicians often describe that aha moment where ideas or solutions seem to come to them out of nowhere and seemingly bypassing conscious thought. This light bulb is often a form of intuition.
Right, right. A lot of a lot of scientists, a lot of uh, people in other positions also have had those light bulb moments that they were struggling and struggling and struggling to understand something, and then boom, they had an intuitive insight or an intuitive hit, and they were able to carry their work to the next level.
Yeah. And I think that that's a good way of working on towards improving your intuition is getting a journal, getting that blank piece of paper and just letting your mind, just go with it wherever it's going to go, and hold on to those drawings, hold on to those write-ins, and look back
Right.
at them after a while, and you can see a change in the way
Yes.
your mind thinks, or the way the way your artwork has improved over time.
Exactly, exactly. And when, I would like to suggest, I mean, having some kind of journal that you write in, it doesn't matter what time of the day you write in it, but for me, writing in it at night or even drawing in it or going over dreams that I've had or even issues or things that happened during the day helped me to sort of tune into that part of myself, that all knowing higher part of
Yeah.
myself. And as a result, I used to have, I don't always have them, but premonition type of dreams where I would dream something that would happen, and then the next day or the next week it would happen.
Yeah. And those aha moments and this ability to just free associate through writing, through artwork. And like I said before, you'll see those improvements in technique. The same applies to your intuition. The more that you work on improving it, the more you'll see your intuition grow and strengthen itself.
Right. Exactly. And as you get better with tuning into your intuition, you start to recognize when something's not quite right or something's off. I know when I was in college, I kept having dreams about the dorms catching on fire over and over and over again, night after night after night. I kept dreaming this. And people would come up with different interpretations of that, and I would be like, I don't know, but I just keep having these dreams. Well, eventually, what happened was an arsonist started setting fires in the dorms, and one by one, there would be a huge fire, and the fire trucks would come, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I dreamed this. I dreamed it over and over and over. I went and told one of my professors, and he was like, "Oh, it was just a dream." But eventually, you sometimes can see things coming to pass that you dreamed about.
Yeah. The other night, I had a dream that I was with my father, and we were like in an old trailer that we used to live in. There was a hunting rifle, and like we took it apart to clean it. And then I asked the assistant library out here to help me analyze or what she thought of the dream. And she told me, well, this is what this app or this computer program is telling me. And every single thing that it related to what I was feeling, that app pretty much laid it down. It was like 95% accurate because it was saying that, oh, and I lost my car keys. I had a
Mm.
vehicle and I couldn't find my car keys. And then it said, well, that's you getting worried that you're going to lose your sense of freedom because your vehicle is your freedom. And I was like, that's right. Because, like, with a vehicle, I have the ability to get up and go wherever I want, whenever I want. Um, Trying to find all the parts to put that rifle back together is a sense of like urgency, because in the dream I was feeling like a sense of urgency, and uh, it was kind of like a desire for protection. And but it was accurate. Then I know I'm getting off topic here, but yeah, that was. So that's another thing that I would recommend is get in the habit of trying to best remember every single morning those dreams, because those dreams really do relate to what you're going through in your waking state or your waking day when you're awake.
Right.
um
I used to have whole conversations with people in the dream state, and then the next day go to school and have the same conversation, and I'd say,
yeah,
"Deja vu! I just dreamed this," and
yeah, yeah.
they'd be like, "No, you didn't." Then what do we say next? And I would tell them exactly what they would say
And
next.
it's crazy because I've actually had dreams like 6 years in the past, and then 6 years later, out of nowhere, something clicks in my mind, and then I'm just like, I was here before. I know what this is, and this is what it meant. And it was like
Right.
I already knew 6 years ago, but it's only happening now. So
Right. Sometimes you would dream something like being in an environment like a place of work or a place of school that you're not currently in, but you see yourself in this place. interacting with people in a certain way,
Yeah.
and it is a premonition, and it doesn't necessarily happen the next day or the next month, but it can happen, years ahead. So we have an intuitive knowing sometimes about our future.
Yeah. Another good example that I can give is that at one point I was feeling overwhelmed by all these things that were happening in my life, school, job offers, certain projects that I want to see come to to make happen. And my mind at that time was telling me like, "Oh, that's too much. You're getting overwhelmed. I can't handle it all." But really, when I took the time to slow down and look at it from outside or look at it from above, it's like, don't worry about it. Take take your time. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. It's gonna be all right. And it does. It relates back to because at that time I was having these kind of stressful dreams where I felt lost in the dream.
Right.
So, that's a reflection of what I was feeling in my waking state.
Right. Well, you get these warnings, or you get this information, you get clues about where you're going or what you're doing. I know that when I was a teenager, I would have numerous dreams, and this was before Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I would be fighting these zombies. I'd have a sword. I'd be, I'd be fighting evil over and over and over again. And in the dreams, it was really scary, and I was like, okay, the
Mm-hmm.
only way to fight evil is with love, and I'd had all these ideas, and sure enough, in my life, I did end up in a job where I was fighting against child abuse, against drug abuse,
Yeah.
against alcoholism, things like that, and those are real demons. Honestly, um, and so it was almost like a clue that I would be that kind of a person in my life.
Yeah. And for the listeners out there, you can take it for what it's worth, but there are certain individuals who in history have been recognized as being, very powerful in that ability to do these things. It's known as precognition, or having that ability to kind of sense and feel what the future is going to hold. There's Baba Vanga, Bulgarian mystic who was famous for predicting certain catastrophes, Nostradamus,
Right,
and
Nostradamus, Edgar Casey.
yeah,
Throughout time, there have been many, many people that have been almost, considered to be prophets, because they would have that precognition, either in a dream, or it would just come to them in meditation, and they'd be able to predict something. And a lot of them were very accurate.
yeah. Clairvoyance, the ability to kind of see, and remote viewing. There's been studies on this, and it kind of has been proven to a certain extent that when it is practiced and an individual works on it, they do develop that ability to kind of guess the cards. I guess is how they were doing it for certain things.
Right. The clairvoyance in particular review is considered to be clear viewing or clear seeing. And it often happens, when people, they'll talk about the third eye, or they'll see something in this third eye, and then that thing in particular will happen. Um, and so throughout the ages, a lot of people have been considered clairvoyant. So if I were to utilize my clairvoyance to check in on maybe a family member, I might be able to see them, or have a sense of where they were. And today, there's a lot of testing that gets done under the idea of clairvoyance or remote viewing. In the 70s, in the military, they did all kinds of exercises with people, and to prove that remote viewing or clairvoyance was something that worked.
Yeah.
So they would use it to look into other countries to see where the bombs were, and but nowadays, um, they're using it for different things. Like if I were to send James to some location, like somebody were to send James to a location and say, Katie, do you know where James is? And I would tune into James and say, well, I see him, you know, maybe in the grocery store, or I see him sitting on a rock, or I see him climbing a mountain. I could tune into my intuition and I would have a feeling for James, because I know how James feels to me as an individual. I can then tune in to see what he sees or his surroundings. And so they're doing a lot of testing with remote viewing right now. And for those of you haven't seen it, watch the documentary called Superhuman, because they're teaching children how to use their clairvoyance to ride bikes on a obstacle course with being blindfolded, or skateboarding blindfolded and they're able to see, or being able to read a book without seeing the words.
Mm-hmm.
They're teaching blind people how to see without being able to see physically. And so this is something that's a real skill that people are being taught and being looked at. And so it's something that I would recommend everybody take that time to start develop and check into your third eye.
Yeah.
It's really a real thing.
Yes.
Your inner vision knows sometimes.
And the old me, maybe like 10 years ago, would have discredited all these Nostradamus, Edgar Casey, and all that, because I was still stuck in that mindset of, well, if science can't prove it, then I don't believe it because I don't think it's true. But related somewhat to this topic is the quantum entanglement, also known as spooky action at a distance.
Yeah.
And this is a theory that was put forth by Albert Einstein himself. And it's the phenomena where two particles remain connected and instantly change properties, even when separated by vast distances. And I think that our minds have that ability to do that. And like you said, the third eye that we have within our brains, known as the pineal gland, it has that capability to do these things. You know,
Right.
we've just lost that ability over time.
You just have to figure out how to use it. And sometimes, there are ways that you can get training of how to utilize these tools. There are psychic development classes all the time. I know at UNM they teach remote viewing. And so that's pretty cool that you can take a class on it and develop your skills. So some of the other things that what you were saying about the quantum entanglement, or that rule of quantum entrainment as well. If you take a particle and you maybe divide it in half, and you send half of it around the world, and you keep half of it here, and maybe you poke a hole in it. Well, what happens to the particle that you do something with will happen. The same thing will happen to the particle that's around the world.
Yeah.
And so, really, what that's demonstrating is that we are connected at ways that we were not aware of in the past, and we are now aware. Like, for example, we came from our mothers, and our mothers have our cells in their
Yep.
bodies, so we can still connect to our mothers, and mothers can still connect to their children.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah, right.
Another experiment that I was reading about not too long ago was the double slit experiment. And it's another experiment in the quantum field where it demonstrates the wave particle and the duality of light and matter. And what the scientists doing this experiment noticed is that light seems to be alive and aware of when it's being viewed, because they'll put a light in front of a screen with two slits in it, and they'll shine that light at it. And when it's being viewed, the light will do what the brain expects it to do, which is just make two slits. But the moment that it's not being viewed by a human, it acts in a whole different way, which is something that the scientists are trying to figure out. Is it the brain that's controlling the light and how we see it, or is it the light that's being aware that it's being viewed? So it's saying like, oh, I gotta do this right now at
Right.
this moment, you know?
Right.
So
We start to learn that there's an intelligence in the universe. There's a consciousness that exists outside of us. And this consciousness, this intelligent, has its own thoughts, its own way of being, its own actions out in the world. Um, and so sometimes when we can tune into that and kind of merge with that, we can start to understand more of what the how the universe works.
yeah. So that just goes to show, you know, our intuition is aware of these things, and there's a lot of things out there that seem incomprehensible to actually happen, but really it does. It has that ability to do this, and they're making a lot of big discoveries
Right.
in terms of quantum mechanics in the quantum field. For
Right. Um, for example, there's psychic detectives that look for maybe the bodies that have disappeared
yeah,
or have been buried or whatever.
yeah,
And there's all kinds of things happening in the world that are being more widely accepted these days,
hmm,
simply because these things are being proven by science, and so in the past people were like, oh, that's not true because it can't be proven or it can't be replicated, this study or that study. But now a lot of these studies have been.
hmm,
For example, Dr. Joe Dispenza, when people go to his conferences, they do a CAT scan of people's brains, and they look at them, and then they go in and they do meditation, and then they do another one, and they can determine that the meditation actually changes the shapes in the brain, and improves the brain, and actually can anti-age you over time. It can help cure diseases if people come in with different diseases or problems. So there's a lot going on now that's actually proving these things in science.
so some of the advice or some advice that we could give to our listeners out there to try out for themselves and really start, if they wish to kind of take those steps of strengthening their intuition or being able to use it, is to think about like, when has your gut feeling ever helped you out? Do you remember a time when, you know, something was telling you don't do this or do that, and it turned out to be exactly as you thought? um what's one small way that you could try to pay more attention to your intuition today? You know, is it going to be, do I make this decision here, or am I going to do what I'm doing here, even though I know it's going to be a little more tougher? Or
Right.
yeah.
You have to tune into your feelings. You're not just tuning in with your brain is a lot different than tuning into your feelings. And again, in addictions, people try to disconnect from their feelings. They try to numb their feelings and their emotions. But you cannot access your intuitive mind. You can't access your intuitive powers, your psychic abilities, until you can be in your feeling body, until you can understand your feelings and your emotions. For example, you may come home and be totally happy, and then the next minute be completely depressed, and say, well, why? When I walked in the door, I was really happy, and now minutes later, I feel totally depressed. Why is that?
Mhm.
Well, it might be that you're tuning into somebody or something that you weren't tuning into before. And so you might take a moment, take a deep breath, go into that feeling, and see if it reminds you of anybody or anything. Sometimes it'll come up and it'll be like, oh, you get an image of maybe a family member or somebody you know, and you'll be like, I think maybe I need to call so and so and check on them and see how they're doing.
Definitely, I've had those feelings a lot too.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
So the simple exercise is to pause and feel, you know, like Katie was saying, before you do something, take a deep breath, close your eyes for a second and ask yourself, how do I feel? Does this light feel expansive or heavy? Do I feel happy? Am I feeling, angry? And
Right.
why? Why am I feeling this way?
Right.
And that deep feeling that you're coming to terms with, or that you're thinking, will often point to your intuition, and your intuition is going to tell you exactly why you're feeling this way.
Right, right, and what they call, like when you're trying to make a decision, and you have, decision A or decision B. Which way should I go? What should I do? Can't make a decision. Which one is the right one? And you might be struggling with something like that, but when you take a moment to feel your feelings about what if you did, you know, choice A, or what if you did choice B, and you tuned into those feelings again. If you get a feeling of lightness, that's a positive. If you get a feeling of darkness or heaviness, then you know that choice isn't for you. They call it the whole body yes or the whole body no.
Yeah.
I think I heard it on Hay House once. Colette Baron Reed basically said, "Is it a whole body yes, I'm in, yes, 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 or is it, oh no, it's too heavy, it doesn't feel right? What is it?" And if you're not getting a whole body yes or a whole body no, then really think about your options. And because I think the right path will be evident to you, because you'll get that yes. Your whole body is in it and says, "Yes, I want to do this."
Yeah. This past weekend, starting from the 25th to Sunday, I was aware that I needed that time for myself. And so I automatically told myself, okay, this weekend you're going to go drive wherever you want to go drive. You're going to go hike, and you're going to, because I was aware that I needed it.
Mhm.
And it was during this past weekend that, I did a lot of that soul searching, and I found out a lot of things about myself. And one thing that I can actually say is that, my addiction was the result of me having no sense of kind of identity, and that identity was having no connection to my culture. And but I became aware of it. And this leads into the next topic of life. Sometimes life throws us those curveballs. Sometimes we're aware of those curveballs, sometimes we're responsible for those curveballs, and sometimes we experience things that leave lasting marks, positive or negative, like trauma or struggles with addiction. It's important to remember that you're not alone, and that healing is totally possible. And like you said, Dr. Joe Dispenza shows us how our thoughts and our emotions literally shape our brain and our reality.
That's right.
I think he did a lot of experiments with the placebo effect, and he was
Yeah.
able to show how our mind is able to um, take in something that we believe is a pill that's going to help us, and our body, it works wonders when you have that belief.
Belief is the thing that will create will come into you have a belief about something, it will come into your reality one way or another. If um say and if you believe something bad will happen,
Yeah.
then you literally will manifest that, you will create that. But if you believe something great will happen, you also will manifest and create that situation. But what we see happening a lot is people walking around saying, "Oh, I'm going to have this great job, or I'm going to have this great relationship, or I'm going to have a lot of money." And then the universe actually offers them a path to that, and they say, "Oh, I don't want to do that. That's
Yeah.
not what I want to do." But it's just going to come to me, it's just going to float down from the heavens into my lap, and it's going to be great. But the truth of the matter is you get little opportunities all the time, and because of your fear, you say, "Oh no, no, I can't do that." Like when James asked about doing this podcast, and he brought it to my attention, I was just like, "Oh no, no, I don't think I can be on a podcast." But then I looked back over my life, and the things that I have been most afraid of, I have said yes to. I have gone right into it. And Because of that, I have developed a lot of skills. Have a lot of education,
Mm.
have had a lot of experiences. And what I realized is if you go around saying no to opportunities that come to you, then eventually those opportunities won't come to you. And then you're going to sit there stuck.
Yeah.
So saying yes, even if it means making changes in your life or making changes with the people in your life, saying yes will always get you to the next level.
And that's definitely something that we've talked about before, is that we get ourselves stuck in these ruts, these mindsets of I can't,
Right.
or these kind of we have the ability to hesitate or
Mm.
doubt ourselves. But Dr. Joe Dispenza tells us that we have the ability to unlearn these negative patterns.
Right.
We have that ability to become more assertive in these choices that we make, to become more confident. But it's about stopping that thinking of saying, oh man, my life is miserable and what's tomorrow going to be but another struggle. And so
Right. Or you have a belief and you stick by that belief, but it's maybe I'm not thinking of one of a belief, but you have a belief that you stick by, and then all of a sudden you may realize, why do I have that belief? Where did it come from? Is it really true? Is it scientifically proven? Is it written about in history? Have other people experienced this kind of idea or this concept? Like a lot of times we'll stick with the belief that we were told when we were very young. And because we believe it into our core, we make decisions based on that belief, like maybe I'm not smart enough, or maybe I'm not good enough to do this or that. And so part of changing our lives is looking at what we're doing and what we're believing and saying, is that really true, and how can I change that, how can I change this belief?
and from my personal experience, I've come to notice that about myself too, is that's what I used to do. I used to pray for all these things like, oh God, just give me a good job, I need money, and then the universe throws me, he shows me all the things that I need to do, but still I'm stuck in that mindset of, but I want it done for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go work and I want to go buy a lottery ticket and win $1 million, but that's not the way that it works.
The way the universe works is the harder you work, the more you get.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more you jump in and go for things and take chances,
Yeah.
the better. The better your life will be.
And now, it is, I can say it is, it's possible to do all these things. You
Right.
just have to put yourself out there and start networking to like-minded people,
Right.
and the things that you want, they will come
And
your way.
and life will throw you curveballs, and we're not saying that your life will be perfect. There's still going to be dissolution of relationships. There'll be loss of money, there'll be custody issues, there'll
Yeah.
be uh you know loss of property or things like that. Life happens, and
Yep.
you will have these curveballs come at you, but how you handle those curveballs also speaks to your next level. You get to walk through those problems, solve those problems, and do it from a grounded perspective, being here on the earth, um, not floating away thinking someone else will solve these problems, but you stepping in, stepping up. That's when you level up. And when you level up, the universe gives you more opportunity.
Yes, definitely. Another great mind, Sanyana Elena, her work often focuses on deeply understanding and processing past experiences to move forward with greater freedom and well-being. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get hit a speed bump, where they kind of get trapped because they don't know how to process these emotions
Right.
or to process these thoughts that they're
Or
feeling.
or past traumas or past events.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to go back to those events and walk through them, feel the emotions of them, and then basically put them to rest. And sometimes that takes having a good counselor or a good psychologist you can talk to, or even a really a best friend that says, you know, you did the best you could during that time. You did what you could do, or you're a survivor, or whatever it is. But you walk through those past issues and you forgive the situation. You forgive the time, you forgive the people involved if you can, and you have the strength to walk past it and say, that's part of my past. I'm not going to act out of that fear or that anger or that pain. I'm going to act from a place of love and joy and happiness and excitement about my future.
Yes. And I would definitely advise anyone out there who wants to try to do this is to not necessarily jump into it and think that you're going to be able to solve everything all at once. It's going to
Mhm.
take a lot of patience. It's going to take a lot of really, really taking your time to work these things through one by one and just making that list, maybe perhaps, and checking them off as you go down. And some of the things that you want to focus on thinking about is like, what's one's feeling or thought pattern that you would like to shift or change in your life.
Right, right. And, again, going back to the old situations and the old emotions, emotions are not always easy to let go of. So let yourself feel the emotions and process them through your body. A lot of times in trauma shows up in the body as sometimes as disease. And so the issue, if you have unresolved trauma or unresolved emotions, they will sit there in your body until it becomes a life-threatening problem. And so you want to resolve those emotional issues. You want to let go of them, and you want to get to the place where you can heal yourself. Trauma is like it like creates a blank spot, a blank hole in places in your body, like a blank emotional hole. And you may not know how to fill that hole or to heal that hole. But the brain can heal everything in your body if it knows where to find it. And so part of healing is being in touch with every part of your body. I mean, your heart, your voice, your throat, you know, uh, your gut, every part of your body, and any part, especially that's had trauma. It's very important to acknowledge that part and to make peace with it and to allow that part to be found and healed by the brain.
And it for me, from personal experience, I can tell you that it's an ongoing process. It's a never ending process. Some of these things are going to come easily, and some of these things are really going to take time. And it's going to be like, how, it's going to
Right.
be like, where, but it's going to come. It's going to come as long as you don't give up on trying to heal these things and search for these things. Sometimes in the middle of nowhere, I'll just have this kind of aha moment, like we were saying, that light bulb will just come on,
Right.
and you'll be like, there it is. There's the answer.
Right.
That's what I need to do.
Right.
Another thing that you might want to reflect on is how might changing your thoughts or beliefs about yourself start to change your reality as well.
Exactly. So instead of looking at something that happened and maybe you played a part in a situation and you're angry at yourself or you feel upset with yourself, like
Yeah.
maybe you can't ever do things right or you always make the wrong decisions. Instead of seeing yourself that way, see yourself as I was a survivor, I did the best I could, and I'm going to change that attitude. I'm going to change the way I do things and think about things, and instead of making the wrong decisions, I'm going to try to really think things through and make the right decisions.
Yeah. That's something that I've come to realize. For a long time, I was stuck. I was stuck in my past. I was stuck in my mistakes. I was stuck in all the wrongs that I did in the past. And, there was something inside of me that felt or believed that I had to do more than what I could
Mhm.
to right them.
Right.
I had this belief that I had to do something great to make them right. But really, it's just being able to just leave it where it is, because some things are just what they are.
Right.
And the only thing that you can do is just move on, because the more you dwell on it, the more you try to just the more you dwell on it, the more it's just going to drag you down, and that's no good.
Sometimes people get stuck in the drama of what happened,
Yeah.
and they tell the story over and over and over and over
Yeah.
and over again, and they're living every day by that drama. And it's important to recognize when that might be happening, and say allow yourself 3 times to tell the story. After 3 times, be done with it. Say, I'm moving on. Now if you have to revisit it in the future, maybe in counseling or something like that, that's okay. But if you find yourself living every day based on what happened 10 years ago, and the screw up decisions you made 10 years ago, then you're never going to be able to get past that.
Yeah.
You need to be able to say, okay, yeah, I made those mistakes. I survived them. And I may feel a blockage now, but come hell or high water, I'm moving on. I'm moving on, and I'm going to do something with that information.
And once we have that ability to move on from these things that we feel are weighing us down, and just leave them where they're at or overcome them, we can start improving our lives. And one of the ways that we can do this is by the new story exercise. Think about that feeling or thought pattern that you want to change. Now imagine what it would feel like if you already had the new positive feeling or thought. Write down 3 sentences describing what that new reality looks like, sounds, or feels like. More vivid, more better. Instead of writing something down like, I feel anxious about talking to people, try, I feel confident and excited to connect with others.
Right. Reverse your thoughts.
Yeah.
Like that one's a good one. I feel anxious about talking to people. You might say that to yourself, and you may acknowledge that, but you say, no, I'm grounded, I'm centered, I'm balanced, I'm focused. I can talk to people, and I talk to people very well. And then put yourself out there, let yourself talk to people, let yourself just be with them, because a lot of times those are just thoughts you have. They're not really based in any reality.
Yep.
So put yourself out there where you have to talk to people, and show yourself, I can do this. I can reverse this. I can talk to people. I am confident. I'm brave. I'm smart.
Yeah. And that's definitely a good example right there. I'm glad that that's the example they used, because that was me at one point. I could not talk about these things. I felt that as a man, I had to keep them bottled up, and I had to struggle on, and as they say, what's that word? Quiet desperation, and move on as best I could, because that's just what being a man was supposed to be. But really now, having that ability to talk and to visualize these things.
Right. And challenge those thoughts.
Yeah.
Challenge those thoughts. Well, why do I believe that? Why do I believe that men have to be quiet and not talk about their emotions? Or why, where does that come from, and how can I get past it? Women do the same thing. If I were beautiful, this would happen. Or if I was smart, this would happen. So those things that you don't see in yourself, start saying, I am beautiful, I am smart, I am all that. And step up, level up.
Yeah.
Until you see it in yourself, no one else is going to see it in you.
Yeah.
So that's when you say, I'm leveling up. I'm going to see that in myself, and go forward with my life, because this is my life.
Yeah.
You only get one shot here as you.
And once we learn how to do these things, once we get on that path, and we get that focus and learn these things about how to change our mindsets, how to change these bad habits into positive routines, that's where building yourself, your best self, starts. And it comes through self development and inner power.
Right.
This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of your authentic, powerful self.
Yes.
Combining your intuition with healing means that you're building a strong foundation for your future.
Right, right. You start taking care of yourself. You start having those mindful moments when you feel like those negative thoughts are coming in. And you just, basically sit quietly with yourself, take a deep breath, and keep coming back to the breath and start training your mind to reverse those negative things that it says. Like, I'm not smart enough, to say I'm smart enough, I can do anything.
Yeah.
um,
And those mindful moments can also include more than 5 minutes. It can take the form of self care, you know.
mhm,
If at the end of the day or in the beginning in the morning, you go to the track or you go for a jog, you know, that's
yeah,
that mindful moment where you can take the time to really help your mind, you know, straighten these things out that you're going to face throughout the day, or come to, I guess, inventory at the end of the day, you know.
right,
So
yeah, and start, um, you know you might do something like listen to your theme song, listen to a song that makes you feel excited and happy about your life.
we talked about keeping that journal, that gratitude journal.
Mm-hmm.
Write down 3 or 5 things that you're grateful for every day. Maybe even 3 or 5 things that you know that you've worked on overcoming. Even though, you know, finding small things on some days can be a challenge, as long as you can find that 1 or 2 positive things at the end of the day that you're thankful for, you know, that's
Right.
gonna keep you going.
And some people cannot see themselves and cannot see the things they do. And so taking a few moments to do an inventory of their interactions or how they interacted with the world or with other people is important, because all of a sudden you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I was nice to so and so. I helped them
Yeah.
take out their garbage, or I babysat for free for somebody that needed a babysitter, or I reached out and helped somebody that needed help,
Hmm.
or maybe just open the door for someone at the grocery store. It can be very simple. Maybe I said a little prayer for someone that I felt needed one. These are simple things, but you can do it all the time, and then you can turn it and say, I love myself because, or I'm grateful because I'm this kind of a person.
Another powerful method that we can use for ourselves is our creative expression. When we do these drawings, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go out there and show it to everyone. You may be able to make these drawings for yourself. And by being able to draw, write, sing, dance, whatever lets your unique spirit shine, this is therapeutic in itself.
Yeah, I used to just draw in ink,
Yeah.
just like circles and spirals and shapes, and then I would connect them to each other, and I would spend a long time at night just kind of drawing these mindless shapes with different colors ink, and they were beautiful.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't, a vase on the table full of flowers. It wasn't anything like that. It was just me focusing on the energy of the drawing and kind of my thoughts and my feelings throughout the day.
Probably my favorite one is the next one, connect with nature. Spend time outdoors, notice the trees, the sky, the feeling of the sun. And nature has this powerful calming effect and grounding effect. You know,
Yes.
like I said, I knew that I needed that weekend to get out there and just walk and just be in the moment,
Right.
my moment,
Yeah.
nothing else, you know. And at the end of the day, when it was all done, it just felt so good because I let it all off,
Right.
because I use that time when I'm out there to really just let my mind go wherever it wants to go, you know, and free associate, or ask myself the questions, you know, ask
Right.
my higher power the questions, and those answers will come, you know, wherever
Nature
it is.
nature is very healing,
Yep.
and even now today they call it earthing. You got to get your earthing mat, your earthing sheets. But the truth of the matter is, if you go outside and you spend time out in nature, you are earthing, and it is very, very healing. You just go to a national park and watch a family drive in, and they'll be griping and complaining, and the kids will be whining, and everybody wants to eat or do something different. And then they'll go on the walk at the national park, and they'll go on this walk, and you see them go off, and they'll be all like, you know, arguing with each other and fighting, not wanting to go and whining and crying about it. And then then they'll go on the walk, and you watch them coming back from the walk. All of a sudden they're happy, they're full of life and energy, nobody's fighting, everybody's excited about what the next step of the journey is going to be. So you can see this in people when they go to national parks. This is why we need national parks. We need
Yeah.
places where people can go in nature, totally in nature.
And probably the most important one now, in order to do all these things that we've just talked about, is set healthy boundaries. Learn to say no when you need to and prioritize your own well being. This is a sign of self respect and self love.
Exactly.
Sometimes, like they say, it's a selfish program because we have to be able to set those and say no sometimes, even though it may make us feel kind of like, but if you're not up for it,
Right.
don't don't force yourself to do
Yeah.
some things, because in
And
the end
mhm.
you'll find yourself resenting.
Right. And I hate to say this, but a lot of women find themselves in these situations where, oh, I've got to go take care of my mother. I've got to take care of her. She has a friend that needs some help. I've got a child in school. I've got to do this. I've got to go to here. I've got to do these things. And before you know it, your day is filled with a lot of little things that you got to get done for other people.
Yep.
And in a way, that's great. That's admirable. But you need to take some time for yourself where you can be alone with yourself, not sitting there watching social media or listening to to a mindless podcast, except
Mhm.
if it's ours. Um, but be alone with your thoughts and your energy and your feelings. And if you don't really feel like going to that luncheon, don't go. If you don't want to go out with a group of people, just say, you know what, I need some time alone. I'm going to stay home. You guys have a great time. Uh, when people are doing something unhealthy, you go to a party and maybe everybody's drinking. Take that moment to say, you know what, that's not good for me. I'm going to have a lemon and water or whatever it is, or I'm gonna go home.
Yeah.
Whatever, but you start setting boundaries about taking care of yourself. That's the most important thing.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one thing that I'm still struggling with is freaking social media, YouTube, and the craziness that's going on in our country. But that's neither here nor there. So
Yeah, stop
yeah,
that. Stop that doom scrolling.
yeah,
I do it all the time,
uh,
and I'm like, stop, stop, because then I send it out to all my friends, and it makes them sad and
yeah,
upset, and I'm like, you know what? I'm perpetuating the anger and the upset, so maybe I should stop.
yeah,
And so I'm like, okay, you can watch 3, and then you're done. Set a boundary and limit your time there.
yeah. So definitely throughout this whole discussion that we've had on our inner power, our intuition, and our ability to utilize it, strengthen it, become more aware of it. Here's a little action plan that you may be able to take. From all the tips and exercises that we've talked about, you may pick one that you may feel excited to try, and you may feel will benefit you in helping you get more in touch with your intuition. Another one is, what's one small step that you can take today to put that into practice? That's one thing that the judge always used to tell me when I'd be before him, and he's like asking me questions all the time. I'm gonna try, judge, and he's like, "Don't try, do." And I'm
Just
like,
do it.
"Yeah, all right,
Yeah, you can. That's really good advice. I mean, we tell ourselves things. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that, and then 10 years passes and we haven't done those things we wanted to do.
yep,
So it's important to set your goals. Look at your goals every couple years, even every few months,
yeah."
and see if you're on track and see what you're doing. Make a list. What are the steps to get to where you want to be? You don't get anywhere by staying just where you are doing nothing.
So, in closing, let's remember that life is a journey. It's not a race. Take the time to be kind to yourself. Celebrate your progress. Give yourself that acknowledgement. Give yourself that pat on the shoulder when you've accomplished something, and trust that you will have that inner incredible wisdom to guide you.
Right,
Yeah.
and give it to other people. you
Yeah.
you know other people need encouragement too. So you see someone out there jogging, taking care of themselves, say, good job,
There
keep
you go.
going,
Yeah.
you know, give them some kudos, and then remind yourself that we all can take care of each other.
Yep.
We can help each other.
Okay, so we're about at that hour mark that we usually try to shoot for, and this was a really great conversation discussion that we had today. And for our listeners out there, I hope that you're able to get something from it and continue to learn something useful or positive.
Right. And don't be afraid to tune into your intuition.
Yeah. Um, a couple weeks ago, I put out a GoFundMe, just to give a little more insight about what that GoFundMe was. Is that out at the Acoma Reservation, a group of individuals were coming together on a weekly basis to hold recovery meetings, 12-step recovery meetings. Throughout it all, we've received nothing but support and encouragement from the community. Unfortunately, one of the obstacles that we've repeatedly bumped into is finding our own place. We went from ABHS to the parish hall, and things happened where we weren't forced out, but we kind of had to move. So right now, I've got it in my head now that this is where I got to start putting into motion that vision that I'm seeing now for our own place of
Right.
what we want for ourselves. And
A wellness center where you can
yeah,
have well-briety meetings and
yeah.
other events that'll help people on their path.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find out where they sell those old school modules, those modular classrooms, because I think that would probably be our best bet to get a
Yeah.
nice little school module
If
for ourselves. But
anybody out there knows how to help, let us know.
yeah,
Get a hold of, Kathleen O'Connor or James Francis at nmsu.edu.
yeah, thank you. And with that, all you people out there, stay well, stay healthy, be happy, and if you see me around, don't be afraid to say hi.
Yeah, and give us a thumbs up and pass us on.
Definitely. Alrighty. We'll see you guys until next time. Hopefully it'll be sooner. I know this one took a little while to get us back on, but we always enjoy coming on here and sharing to the best of our abilities these positive things that may help you improve your lives.
Yeah, see you next time.
We'll see you guys. Bye bye.